Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be going over the way that I go about cross-hatching the face, and there's not one way to do it, but I'm going to be a little bit more methodical about it for the video. But I drew in pencil basically a Loomis head, which I'll show you a time lapse of that so you can see how I drew it, and it's also in the other videos I've posted. So if you want to follow along, you can sketch something like this, and then the next thing would be to sketch some basic shapes and see the effect of like the direction of the hatching. And then you can also use a pencil. I'm going to be using a pen, but you can, if you want a linear approach with the pencil. So yeah, let's get started. So what I've done here, which I will show a time lapse of, is define the forms, because cross-hatching is all about defining the form, showing the form. So you've got the big shapes and you got some smaller shapes. So feel free to look at reference. I did this out of my head, but yeah, use reference if you need to, or just use what I've got here. So at this point, I've started to, one, decide where the light's gonna come from. So I've decided that we're gonna do something kind of simple where the main light's gonna be coming from here. And then there'll be a little bit of reflected light. And so the shadow will be mostly right here. And basically I've spotted where I think the darkest areas would be, and not outlining everything, because we're not going for a cartoony or comic book outline. We're gonna make it look kind of more realistic. So you want to have some open areas to suggest the light. And then the parts that are facing away from the light is going to be, we'll add shadows to that, and the lines will be darker. So at this stage, I've begun to do the hatching, not so much the cross hatching, and I've decided to go against the form or across the form, and also just keep it going in one direction. And then I don't outline this the border between the light and shadow. I mean, sometimes I will, sometimes I won't, but for this demonstration I want it to be a little bit more realistic, like I said. And also I focused on the big shape instead of all the little forms, which we will go over. I might actually use a smaller tip pen for the finer details, but we'll see. So here I've begun to add cast shadows, and pushing the values, and also defining the character, making it look more like a person. Again, if you're using reference, it'll probably make it easier. I'm just wanting to come up with it from my imagination and memory. I indicated a basic hairline in case I want to add hair or just leave it like that. In the next stage, I'm going to basically push the values some more, and then I'll talk about it after I work on it. So I did a few things. I went ahead and cross-hatched, and by doing that, you get that core shadow, I think it's called, but you get that outline without having to draw the outline. Also, just by going in the same direction but going over it again creates a darker value. And then I used the smaller pen for some of these smaller shapes, and I'm going to keep refining it that way. Alright, so that's probably the last step for the purposes of this video. But basically it's very easy to overwork the picture. So you kind of and I've messed up plenty of them. So you kind of just have to, you know, keep practicing, and you're gonna mess up. It's good to kind of leave it for a while and then come back to it. But basically, I wanted to maintain the same value scale, so that the dark side, so to speak, is still always that way. But so the more lines you add, the more it shifts, so that, for example, if I wanted this to be darker, it would keep pushing the value so that the skin would look like darker skin, that kind of thing. But if you watch the video, it probably makes more sense. And I did use the thinner pen to do these details here, because I didn't want it to compete with this side. So that's the basics of it, and if you do it enough, you can kind of just kind of play around the way that I have with these, and that'll be it for this demo. And thanks for watching, and for liking and subscribing, and until next time, keep on sketching.